The Maltese Cross is my favourite gymnastic strength skill performed on the steel rings. You support your entire body weight in a horizontal position with the arms locked and the hips staying level with the hands. The main muscles used in Maltese are the anterior deltoids, the chest, but the biceps and core also serve a secondary role in stabilising the elbow and trunk. Is the Maltese achievable for the average size adult though? Enter Nath Comer, 178 centimeters tall, 80 kilos and an adult competitive gymnast. Here's his Maltese that he achieved as an adult, and it's pretty f***ing epic. I caught up with Nath to hear about his approach, starting with the prerequisite strength and skills before one should even think about Maltese. What do we have to do?
You need absolutely kind of brute bent arm pushing strength, weighted push-ups, weighted dips, maybe even a bit of bench press work. So I think some people start kind of specific conditioning too early, but the amount of actual bent arm pressing strength that you need is pretty substantial. Most gymnasts, even though they don't train weightlifting that much, most of them can bench press more than 1.5 times their body weight. 10 plus seconds back lever, super easy. That's a big one. I would say a decent cross is a good prerequisite, just in terms of the cross obviously trains the chest and shoulders. It's not exactly the same plane of movement, but if you've got that background of training in the cross, your chest and your shoulders and biceps are going to be a lot more conditioned and a lot more ready for the Maltese. And then I would say a minimum of straddle planche before you start working to Maltese.
When I consider my own training, I sometimes train specific to Maltese, but I'd largely assume my planche would progress into that Maltese skill. I then recently thought about the relationship between back lever and Maltese, especially when you look at someone like Arthur Zanetti's Maltese. I thought maybe I've missed something in my own approach. Is it better to approach Maltese like a low planche, or maybe a high back lever?
I wouldn't say it's right to say it's only a low planche, and I wouldn't say it's right to say it's only a high back lever. It's exactly a perfect flat Maltese, perfect level Maltese should be kind of exactly halfway between the two. It makes sense to attack it from both angles. So some of your training would be starting in planche trying to lower down, and some of your training would be starting in back lever trying to lift up. Thinking of it as a low planche is probably more beneficial, but I would definitely advocate doing some kind of work below the Maltese in terms of a high back lever, because it perhaps trains the elbow complex better than doing a planche on the parallel swing. For example, when you're using dumbbells and stuff like that, if you can do any training where you're kind of going slightly below the Maltese and kind of strengthening that slightly below the position, that's just going to only serve to build the skill in a more well-rounded way.
A lot of you are likely familiar with the SAID principle, specific adaptation to imposed demand. And if we want to get the Maltese, we probably need to train the Maltese position. But it's such a difficult hold, and we don't want to max out every day. So how do we train specific to the Maltese when the actual hold is so hard?
I've not found that much benefit personally from doing like Maltese on the blocks, Maltese on springboards and stuff like that. I think it's probably just because it doesn't train the biceps at all. The main two exercises which helped me most with Maltese would be just presses with dumbbells to get some volume in, and then isometric holds with bands, and obviously gradually reducing the band thickness.
A big thanks to Nath for his help on this video, but if you guys still haven't got your Maltese fix, you can check out my recommended beginner exercises for a great physical introduction to this epic skill. And shortly I'll be posting the podcast link to the full conversation we had, going into much more detail, such as the sets and reps recommended for those Maltese specific exercises.